It's a show off your slab fest on Comic Book Canada. That's right. We have an EGS Slab Fest later on in the show. Dan De La Torre will be here showing off his EGS gets right before Fresh from the Comic Shop. You're definitely going to want to check that out. We have a lot of great stuff going on too, but first let me introduce my good friend, my partner in crime, my co-host, one of them, Joseph!
Woo!
How's it going, hot stuff? Do you want to say that Chris is feeling under the weather tonight? He will not be part of the show. We will not have props or flops. It is a crime to not have props or flops without Chris, so we are going to hold off on that. We are also going to be giving away our July Fresh from the Comic Shop grand prize here for this month, which is Spider-Man 2099, this EGS slab from EGS and Spider Dude Comics. They sponsor Fresh from the Comic Shop, and we are very grateful for it. And, I guess we do have to say hello to who. So everybody, please welcome chat. Give me yay.
Listen up, co-hosts. I must admit, I've gained a few pounds from my Beachbody perfection. Grape sodas got the best of me. But fear not, I'll be back in shape in no time. Now let's focus on what really matters. Comic books, onward to the show.
Hey, you know what? He gained it back, no big deal, but he's actually sounding like he's part of the team, saying, like, you know what, that's not what's important. It's the show is important, Joe. I mean,
yeah.
But real quick, I want to see how you're doing. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you that.
Yeah, I'm okay. I've been trying to get a hold of you this week, man, and it's you haven't really returned my calls. It's kind of been rough.
Yeah, you know what happens is that I get busy, you call, you leave a message. I never get back to those messages until days before. And this one was a little strange, to be honest with you. And the last message you left, do you recall?
It's kind of hazy.
Yeah, it's kind of hazy.
Chet, emotional at the time.
Chet, let's roll that audio, please, Chet.
Sure thing, Jeff. Let me play that clip for you. Anything to embarrass Joe.
You letting me go to voicemail? Is that what this has come to? I gave you the best years of my life, Jeff, and you put me to voicemail. You're making me leave this message. You don't talk to me. You don't meet me face to face via the phone. I'm so distraught over this. I don't know why I'm getting a southern accent all of a sudden, but I feel like I'm preaching on my pulpit at the Baptist church. I'm going to stop this voicemail now before I really go off the rails. I'll talk to you later.
By the way, Joe, if you got the goods on Jeff, happy to help.
Oh, yeah. So he's playing both of us right there. He really enjoys embarrassing both of us. But anyways, I don't know what that was all about. You're really upset that I didn't pick up the phone and went straight to voicemail. So,
yeah, I have no recollection of that.
Okay, that's fair. You know what? Sometimes I just don't remember strange voicemails I leave on other people's answering services as well. Is that what we call it these days? Answer services? Who cares? Because what these people want to hear is the news. Because that's what's up next. So, Joe, let's hit them hard with this hard-hitting news.
Yeah, we got a couple pieces of news today.
I'm out. I was a little too aggressive introducing the news segment. So please give us some news.
Okay, am I supposed to be really soft about this?
I was too aggressive on my part, and I apologize for it.
All right, we're dialing back the aggression.
Dial it back.
Take a deep breath. Breathe. Inhale, exhale. All right, we're good. We're going into the news segment. Unfortunately, we're going to be starting off with more delays. This week, there's been a lot of delays, with the writer's strike and now the SAG strike, where we're hearing things about Ghostbusters 4 and plenty of other movies that, have been in the works for a while. The two, big comic book related ones that they announced this week were Spider-Verse #3, Beyond the Spider-Verse, being delayed indefinitely. Originally, this movie was supposed to come out next year. They did say that it was going to be pushed back, and now they're saying indefinitely, meaning not that it's not coming out, but they just don't have a timeline for it. I certainly can't imagine a world where that movie doesn't eventually come out, because of the success and just how good the first two were, and the fact that the second one left on that cliffhanger. But definitely sad about that because I was really looking forward to that movie. And another really surprising one, Craven from Sony, has been delayed a year. And if you remember, we just got a Craven trailer. Now, the Craven trailer was originally dropped, I think, as a leak, and then Sony said, "Oh well, it was leaked. Let's put it out for the masses." So I think that was probably a really unfortunate thing to have happen right before the strike went in. Obviously, the movie's probably done being filmed, but there's probably some like reshoots and stuff like that, which is why it's probably getting delayed here. But yeah, right after a trailer drops, it getting delayed. Are they going to do another trailer to try to bring hype back to it? It is not looking good for that movie.
It's not looking good for the industry right now because a lot of people are suffering. Those and again, it's not their fault, but people like The Rock are like, they're okay, they're comfortable, more than comfortable. And
Sure.
again, not The Rock's fault. He's a top box office earner, but there are people like production assistants down the chain that are, who knows what they're going to be doing. And it really sucks. It's really unfortunate. That's even more important than us not getting this content we were expecting to get. With these delays, Craven, it was probably done with shoots. It's probably going through test screenings and they need to reshoot based off of the feedback that they get. So that's normal for films. But also these films are not going to have any support in terms of star power during the junkets, the press junkets. So stars are not doing that. They are holding, they're not crossing that line. They are holding firm. They don't want to help out studios. So studios are holding back some properties or some films that they feel like will do much better with that support. Again, it's really crazy. It's unfortunate right now. I don't know when this thing is going to end, but people are hurting. People are definitely struggling. And we hope it ends soon. So that's all I can say, about that.
Yeah. I mean, the people that's affecting, and I'm honestly curious, as someone who works in the finance industry, as to how this is affecting the economy. Because, we're not just talking about all these people who are out of work and, the people that are paycheck to paycheck are now going into debt, taking on loans, things like that. The people who, were a little bit more well off are depleting savings. And even the people who were really well off are, they have less, discretionary money. But not just that, but also, these movies are getting pushed back. We're going to see less movies coming out. So we're going to see less, people going to the movies.
There's a ripple effect.
Tickets, buying popcorn, gasoline to get to the movies. Like, it literally affects so much. So, I don't know what, percentage that sector is or anything like that, but it is without a doubt going to affect the overall economy.
I mean, I'll take it even further. Again, you have production hubs. Obviously, Los Angeles is the biggest. It's the entertainment capital of the world, but you have production hubs in Atlanta. You have production hubs. Obviously, New York is really big in production. You have places, in Texas or like Austin, there's a few places. There's a few places in Canada. Sure. And that affects the local economy as well. Let's just say a gas station that gasses up all of the vehicles that drives all the stars to, where they need to be, et cetera. It's a ripple effect. And again, hopefully we see this thing end soon. It's complicated because there are some factors we have not dealt with or seen ever because of AI. And that's really going to need to be figured out. And rights are going to need to be protected. People's rights are going to need to be protected for that. So again, we're probably going to be talking about this for at least the next few weeks, if not months, in the news section. So we may as well just move on because there's no true news other than the delays in these films. So, but what do we got next?
Yeah, another piece of unfortunate news, and don't worry, I'm going to bring you up at the end with some good news, in my opinion. But Secret Invasion capped off this past week, and I was mind blown to hear this because I enjoyed it very much. But it got the lowest rating out of any MCU project, which it's just sorry, I should say MCU Disney Plus series, not project. This doesn't include the movies. I couldn't believe this because I thought the show was really, really well done. There, there were some things I didn't like. There were some things that I would have done differently myself, but I just can't imagine it being the worst. And I've liked most of the Disney Plus stuff. I think the Disney Plus shows have been on average better than the movies that have come out in the past, 2-3 years. But I don't see why this was the lowest rating. Popa Chili Town had mentioned something to me that there was no real like hype for it. There was no one there was no like little cameos or hints at it coming. As far as like in the more recent shows, he had suggested, similar to in the comics when Elektra is killed and it's revealed that she's a Skrull in the comics, and that kicks off Secret Invasion. The comic run, he suggested something like that, on a recent show. His example was great. She-Hulk is going berserk at one point and she rips apart, Spider-Man comes to try to calm her down and she rips apart Spider-Man, and it turns out he's a Skrull. Like anything like that would have been so cool and would have really brought more people into this. There was nothing like that. There were a couple little hints at it and stuff like that, but yeah, I think it lost a lot of viewership. But yeah, the rating as far like I thought this was solid. But hey, that's just me. That's just my opinion. I'm just a guy who likes comic books and comic book related content.
I'm with you, man. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was entertaining. It was a good show. Like Wookiee Fodder 80. That show was garbage and it was a crime. It cost $225 million. I didn't think it was that bad. It wasn't the best show by any means. Sure. I did have a lot of major issues with it. I thought it could have been set up much better. I thought like there's so much that could have been done. And I'll be honest, the finale was definitely predictable, but it was enjoyable at the same time. Like I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was cool. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, those who haven't seen it, because the finale just came out this past week, right? I'm with you. It was a decent show. It was but here's the deal. We live in a day and age where people want to take power and review bomb shit, right? Just review bomb, even if whatever. There's like you see the MCU fans fracturing, right? They're starting to draw lines saying Endgame was the last good thing the MCU has done. It's just like, okay, come on, let's all chill out. I don't think that's. Look, everybody's entitled to opinion, but I mean, there are some people that are adamant and just don't even want to watch anything else. Think it's a hot mess, and they'll say it's a hot mess by review bombing. So that's it. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it. The stuff that's coming out now is, we're in the first phase of the saga. We got to remember that. We're in, phase 4 of the MCU. It is the first phase of this saga. We are basically in phase 1 again. And phase 1 of the MCU was disjointed like this one is. And phase 1 of the MCU, had some stinkers of movies in it.
There really were. The difference between
it as well.
The difference between that era though and this one is the novelty of phase 1. Yeah. You can't take that. You can't take the novelty anymore and put it on phase 4. People want the same novel feeling that they had in phase 1, in phase 4. Everything to just blow their minds. Because even like the second Thor, which was that was awful.
Worst MCU movie by far.
I think so. Yeah. Even that movie had some interesting things, that Easter eggs in the MCU that you didn't really see these things before the MCU started. So
I'm hoping with the pullback with content, with the delays, we come back from these strikes and things do improve. We get a little bit more cohesion. We get some more character building and stuff like that. But we have another piece of news to move on to that is more positive than the first two. We've seen the comic book market go way up and way down in the last couple of years. Big spike during the COVID lockdowns, people, getting reinvigorated on comic book collecting because they were at home, and that's, they were cleaning out their attic and got into stuff, and there was a little bit of money coming in from the payouts, the government payouts and stuff like that, and it really spiked up the collectibles market in general. There was obviously a lot of hype in 2019 around Endgame, the culmination of that saga, and people, new people coming into comics for the first time, older people and people that had been in for a while getting reinvigorated, like I said. And then we saw, boom, it come down really heavy over the last few years. And I've been saying for a while that I think 2023 is kind of going to be a break even, or possibly even a little bit of a rebound year. And we're seeing stuff that does, give evidence towards that. And specifically this week, we got a new record, a big one, Amazing Spider-Man #1. That is, a very popular book. Not even Spidey's first appearance, but it's the first title, first Spider-Man title. It is the first appearance of multiple other characters, J. Jonah Jameson, the Chameleon, and it's the book that really kicked off that run. So the highest recorded sale, public sale, happened just this past week. It was a 9.6 that sold for $520,380, aka more than $500,000 for a 9.6 book from 1963. So a book that is at this point 60 years old. Not a golden age book, not a book that's really that scarce. We'll talk about census numbers in a little bit. There are thousands of copies on the census in general, but we'll talk about the specific numbers. The previous high sale of this book was actually just last year, November of 2022. A 9.6 sold for $336,000.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a pretty significant increase. 50, 60 some percent increase there. And the last sale before that, there's really not a lot of data. The last public sale before that was 2005, at which point it sold for under 100,000, and pretty much all sales prior, 2005 and prior, were around or under 100,000. Now, the really interesting about this is, there are 5 9.6s on the census. So there are 5 of these books in existence, but there are also 2 9.8s. They have never sold in, a public forum where that information was recorded. So, my thought is, and if a 9.8 came to market today, especially with this recent sale, we're looking at $1 million+ for sure.
Yeah.
We might even be looking at close to 2, or maybe even over 2. You never know what someone is going to want. But this is I think this is good news. These are books that drive a lot of the hype on things. When something sells for this much money, it does come into the public eye a little bit more. News channels, newspapers and stuff cover it. Obviously in any high-end collectible market and stuff like that, there is market manipulation. There are, false sales. I hope that there are less and less of those, as time goes on, and figuring those out become a little bit easier. But that being said, it's good for the hobby. These huge sales are good for the hobby. Good for the future, especially when it does make the mainstream news like it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's interesting because if you think a 10-year-old, let's just say this probably passed hands, this specific copy, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Let's just say a 10-year-old bought this, right? In 1963. They are 70 years old right now.
Right.
So I doubt somebody in that generation is purchasing this book. So that goes to say that people will always be interested in these collectibles. They will always be interested in something like this that made a mark in pop culture. Not his first appearance, but his first series. So it's fascinating. Right. It's amazing to see how this hobby will continue to grow. People were worried about the digital books, things like that. We're going to have Tony Trombetta on in a bit, and I would love to get his thoughts on that because he's getting books submitted to him daily. So again, people are interested in having these hard copies of these books as collectibles. I don't think that collectible market will ever go away. And like you said, you feel it's back up to an upswing or correcting, maybe. I don't know, to a point where it's going to start building back again. Maybe not pandemic levels, but building back to a healthy level.
Yeah. Do I think we're going to see those like late 2021, early 2022 prices, in the next year? Absolutely not. It's probably going to take a couple of years to grow to that, possibly even, half a decade or more. That being said, I feel like people are a lot more comfortable with the prices the way they are now. I talked to a bunch of vendors and such at Terrificon this past weekend, and they were all saying, "Hey, we did great. We did really great this weekend." I heard one guy actually, I was trying to haggle with him on the price of a book, and he goes, "Honestly, normally I would bend a little bit on this, but I'm actually going to be firm with my price because I've done so well already this weekend. I don't necessarily need to make the sale." Which, again, that is good. That is good for the hobby, the future of the hobby, and so on and so forth, because, the people that were buying in 2021, early 2022, and have lost value in things that they saw as investments. This is, of course, we're speaking about for the collecting side, as far as the value collecting side of the hobby, because there are people that just love to read and just love to own these books and display them. And that's not what I'm specifically talking about here. But, the people that got in for the, investment interest, a lot of them got out because they saw the markets going down, and that
was bad news.
Yeah, it's slow and steady growth with the occasional little spike is much, much better than what we had the past couple years.
For sure,
big boom, big fall, and things seem to be stable, or at least more stable at this point.
Gradual build back. But yeah, and by the way, I do want to get into your weekend festivities in a hot second. But I think we're going to wrap up the news right now and say hello to some people.
Let's do it.
By the way, before we do, if you like us, please subscribe to us. And please just like the video. Why not? Why not? You're here anyways. It's an action. It's an easy action. Just click like and click subscribe. We would appreciate it greatly. We don't say this enough, Joe. We don't really say this enough, but we just said it. All right, let's say hello to some people. We got Mark Lineker in the house, who's drinking and poof poof. I don't know. I'll find that comment in a hot second. Phil Ailing, comic, Toby. Yeah, you're right. Will Ferrell has not made an MC movie yet, but he was in Barbie, which I saw this weekend, which was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm not even joking. We got Caleb, a.k.a. Cable Leland. We got Kate, who says that's awesome. Of course it's awesome. And, of course, I mean, a show isn't complete without Dr. Frankenstein. Right?
Oh, yeah. The wife, of course.
The wife. A supreme love. We got lots of people. Goonish, Lurker, Pete, Keel, Josh's Comics live from Delaware. I'm from Delaware, too. Who else do we have? Comic Noob. I think I said that, but maybe not. Nikita Kare, Wookie Fodder 80. Some interesting thoughts already in the news section. Love to hear some more of your thoughts moving forward. Comic Noob, I said probably 3 times. Alicia Jardine is laughing at something. We got Fat Dad Comics. We got Dr. Plagueis. Joe, I hope you came home with some goodies today. Yo, Dr. Plagueis, I have not seen Fresh from the Comic Shop submissions from this person, but
he's a regular buyer from me on my Instagram. So
I'm liking some of these submissions. I'm telling you right now. Nukes Comics Raising Elm, aka Justin. Who else do we have? We have. There's more. Raw Dog Comics. There's a lot of comments here already, Joe.
I said I'm loving it.
We also have somebody here by the name of Bond. Paul.
Oh, Bond.
Yes, we do. We have. Who else do we? Dan De La Torre is coming up in a hot second, as well as Tony Trombetta. Happy to have those guys on. Love those guys. Who else do we have? I think that's we covered everything. If we forgot about you, just say in the comments, hey, you forgot about me, and we'll bring up the message.
Did you say Manny, the Hobgoblin Collector, who just hopped in a minute ago?
Well, hello, Manny, the Hobgoblin Collector. Good evening to you. Yes. And I don't know if your wife is pissed that there may be another doctor here. Time out.
Oh,
time out. Here. Let's get back to that in a second, because look who's here. Everybody. I'll read it for you if you can. Hello, all. I'm laying in bed sick, so I thought I could at least hang out and watch. We said it was a crime, Christopher, that we cannot do props or flops without you. So we need you to get better. Thank you very much. But what's this? What's going on here? What's another doctor? I don't know what that means.
Well, she's Dr. Frankenstein, and you were talking about Dr. Plagueis, so she's got a little jealous here.
She tried to take your life that one episode too.
Yeah, the chair. We're still
chair incident for sure. Yeah,
we haven't figured out who that was yet. But,
Dr. Plagueis, look out, man! If she's mad that you have a doctor in front of your name. It's Tony Trombetta. We told you he's in the house. He is in the house.
Quite literally, yeah.
Real quick, you got something really cool to share that everybody's gonna be jealous about.
Yeah. So Terrificon was this past weekend. I am not a huge con person. Like I like the medium size and the small cons. That's what I mean by that. Like I don't even go to New York Comic Con. San Diego, I'll probably go someday. Baltimore's pretty good because it's more comic focused, but I do always go to Terrificon because again, it is more comic focused than some of the other bigger ones. But the one thing I really love about it is, seeing everybody hanging out and picking up things that, and seeing things rather that you don't really see very often. And, obviously shout out to the guys I drove with, Paul Bond and Popachilli Town. And
can I get a pause real quick?
Yeah.
The next, you got this great flow telling the story, really good. But I also want to say and remind you all, the segment called Ask Joe is coming up next.
Oh, yeah.
So please submit your questions to Ask Joe. We'll sing you the song in a hot second. Please. But this is a cool story, by the way. Go.
Yeah, so hanging out with all them, Bronzeville Comics, someone who I talk to basically daily, getting to actually see him in person, hang out with him because we're a couple hours away. And shout out to Mickey from Swaggelhouse because I've been watching the YouTube channel for a while. We were on this show together at one point on I think it was the 1,000 subscribers celebration. It was great running into him. But anyway, I picked up some really cool stuff. There will be a haul video this week. I'm going to get back to my YouTube videos, I promise. But one thing that I got, and I posted it this morning, so you may have already seen this on Instagram, is it's not my first piece of art. I have a bunch of pages of original comic book art, but this is the first one that I've ever bought directly from the artist. Most of the time I get them, from art dealers and stuff like that, but this is a page from literally this week's Ghost Rider book. This is Ghost Rider number 16, just came out this week. Chris Campagna did the art on this, and he's the current artist on that, and he's also taking over starting with issue 8 of Red Goblin. Now, this issue has a really, really cool team up between the 3 main Ghost Riders. We've got Johnny Blaze, the OG, Danny Ketch, the second Ghost Rider, and Robbie Reyes, who's been a recent mainstay in as the Ghost Rider character. And not just that, but check this thing out. I'm gonna try to show it up close.
So dope.
You can see all 3 Ghost Riders on this splash page.
So incredible.
Together with this flame in the background. So freaking cool. I could not believe that, someone hadn't so I'll tell you this. I saw this at Philly Fan Expo in Chris's portfolio, and he couldn't sell it yet because it was not published yet. But I said, I want that. Unfortunately, no one else had said that to him yet. And he said, if you come to Terrificon, the book will be out. You can buy it there. And yeah, I purchased this really amazing, this is the actual page used in the book. This isn't a print or just a sketch that I had commissioned or something like that. This is the page from Ghost Rider number 16. So if you're in your LCS, pop Ghost Rider 16, open up right to the centerfold. This is on the left side, page 11 of that book.
So incredible, man. That is such a great pickup. Very happy for you. And right now, we're just going to have to move. There's really no easy segue to the next segment.
Yeah, we better do it quick because I see like 10 questions and I'm going to have to rush through them because we have, despite not having Chris on tonight and no props or flops segment, we do have some really cool stuff coming up before we do Fresh from the Comic Shop with some guests on the show, which
that's going to be a great segue.
Mentioned at the top of the hour, but
we did say that Dan De La Torre and Tony Trombetta are here.
No, you're right. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm exhausted from this weekend.
You know what? I'm going to let it slide.
Okay, so anyway, I'm ready.
Let's go. Ready? We'll do a quick one. Ready? And Ask Joe. It wasn't that quick because I was feeling it, man. I was absolutely.
You got really. I did not take a deep enough breath.
Yeah,
to make that happen because you told me a quick one.
I did, but we were jamming.
Prepared, so
we were totally jamming. It was fantastic, and I thought that was great. All right, here we go. We're gonna get to these Ask Joe questions. There's a ton of them. Okay. Here we go. Let's start with Tony. Joe, what is the most you have spent on in a single comic?
The most that I have spent on one single comic book was that's a really good question. I think it was a Daredevil 1 that I spent $4,000 on. It was a Daredevil 1, 4.5. I actually sold it. I bought it for the PC, but it was recently, with all this stuff going on with, for those who follow me and my stuff, my air conditioner broke. I got a new one this past weekend. Thank goodness. But, that was quite pricey to replace the whole air conditioning unit. So I did sell that Daredevil 1 during that time period. Fortunately, I was able to sell it for what I bought it for, $4,000. But I hope to get the same grade back. It was a 4.5 or a higher grade back sometime in the next year or so.
You deserve it. But you definitely need AC after this summer. Yo, Chris asks the hard-hitting questions. If you haven't seen him during the interview for guests, hard-hitting. And this one is no different. Joe, how do you slice your sandwiches?
I don't. I prefer one piece sandwiches. I know people like the halvesies. I know people like the corner-to-corner diagonal cut. That is not my style. I prefer sandwiches, wraps, burritos, hoagies, all that stuff. I prefer it one piece rather than more than one. And
what's the point? What's the point? What? All of a sudden you feel like you have two sandwiches?
Yeah.
Honestly, what's the point?
It kind of, when people cut their sandwiches in half, it kind of makes me a little put off,
Yeah, it makes me angry too. Moving on. Joe, have you watched the Saw movies, and what are your thoughts on the Saw X trailer?
So, not only do I watch the Saw movies, I love the Saw movies. And not only do I love the Saw movies, but I've seen all of them multiple times. In fact, my first date with Shelby was to see Jigsaw, which was one of the Saw movies. That was our first date back, 6 years ago now. And yeah, I love the Saw movies. It is quite literally my favorite horror franchise ever. And I am so excited for Saw X. Trailer, I'm all about it. They really haven't done any wrong in those movies. Even the ones that were like the ones in the middle, like I think it was like 4 and like 3, 4, and 5, or 4, 5, and 6. I forget exactly. Those, despite not being the best of the bunch, they had so much. There was so much payoff in the later movies from things that happened in the middle section of movies that it's so good, so good. So yes, I'm very excited for that.
Yo, I'm gonna be honest with you. Those movies scare the shit out of me. I have no interest in seeing them. So, moving on, we have, this isn't an Ask Joe, but I gotta point it out here. Goonish Lurker, did anybody here in the chat participate in Comic Book Christmas in July? This was Goonish Lurker. I believe he lives in Texas. I want to say, Colorado, I think. Just dropping comic books in these book. We should have pulled this up. So sorry, Goonish. But yeah, that's him putting it in these little library,
free library. So Shelby and I had actually talked about putting one of those because she's a huge reader. She is a not a comic book, but a novel reader. And she's got multiple English degrees and loves all that stuff. So we actually talked about at one point maybe getting one of those for outside our house. And I was like, yeah, would love to stick comics in it. So maybe I'll pop around and I'll kick. No, I won't kick anything. I will put some comics in some of the local ones.
Be civil. But as you saw, Goonish got around town there. So good on you. Good on you, sir. I like this question here from Josh. What's one comic you regret buying?
That's really a tough one. I will say this. As far as like a kind of from a financial standpoint, I did overpay on an X-Men #4, First Omega Red. That book, I grew up loving Omega Red. I grew up in the 90s, loved X-Men animated series. I played the Overpower card game where Omega Red was, one of the hero characters you could use. So I really like that character. So when I kind of started getting back into comics, unfortunately, it was around the time that Falcon and Winter Soldier came. There was like a rumor that Omega Red was going to be in Falcon.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess this must have been like early 2020, something like that.
Yeah.
I bought one. I forget exactly how much I paid, but I think it was $300 or north of $300, and that book sells for 9/8 sell for like $180 now. So it wasn't a huge loss or anything like that, but I definitely regret buying it at that point.
You got the FOMO.
It was less the FOMO. It was actually had nothing to do with the rumor, and I didn't hear about the rumor until after. But I just love that character. So that's one of the books, because I did years before have a 9/8 that I had sold. So I kind of wanted that, that one back in a 9/8, but
all right, that's not terrible. It's definitely not terrible, but it was, you probably should have waited. But anyways, live and learn. Yeah. As you know, I'm after a Batman 181, but I stumbled on an interesting variant. It's an Italian copy of 181 and a 5.0. They want 300 for it. Should I do it? And would CGC recognize it as a first Ivy? This is a very good question.
So this is a multi-part question. First thing I see is, should I do it? That question really is more, do you want it, and do you think that's a good price for it? Are there comps? Have there been other ones sold, and is 300 reasonable for the condition? If it's something you want and it's a reasonable price as far as the market, then yeah, go for it. Like, that's really cool. Now keep in mind a couple things. One is that the foreign market seems to be pretty untapped at this point. There's potential for growth in those books, but there's also potential for them never taking off, and the value really not increasing as fast as a American printing copy. And there's also the fact that foreign stuff is harder to get rid of. There are less people out there willing to buy foreign stuff. Specifically for me, I think foreign stuff is really cool, but I have centered all of my foreign comic collecting around Black Suit Spider-Man, Symbiote Suit Spider-Man stuff. So I have ASM 299 or 298, 299, 300. I have foreign printings of Secret Wars 8, ASM 252, stuff like that. So it's always collect what you like, as we know. Just try to find a comp or something like that, and see if it is a reasonable price, and obviously know the risk that come with foreign comics. And would CGC recognize it as first appearance of Ivy? So this is a interesting question. I don't know the answer. I would look up again other foreign comics and see if it's on the CGC label. Now, one thing to note about foreign books, some of them were printed at the same time as the American printing, such as UK price variants and Canadian and Australian price variants of books. Those were all printed at the same time, but the ones that are from different publishers, some of them were printed at the same time. Other ones were reprints, like anywhere from like a couple years to even a couple decades later. So it's really important to note that the ones that are printed at or around the same time as the original printing of the American book, those tend to be more sought after than the ones that reprint things a couple years later. You know, Hulk 181, there are Hulk 181s of foreign printings that were printed at that same time, 74, but there's also printings from the 80s. And they look old, but they're not quite as old as the original one. And that's what you got to look out for. There's a lot of research to be done, when it comes to foreigns, and you can usually look it up, publisher, type in the publisher name, the book, the issue. And one other thing to note, and I'll promise I'll get off this foreign book thing, is that sometimes they don't have the same issue numbers. Sometimes they take stories from a title and they put them out of order, or they skip stuff altogether. And sometimes they even combine books. So I know like first, I think it's First Beta Ray Bill, is the first, second, and third, I think, appearance of Beta Ray Bill are all in one thicker comic book for like the Spanish printing or something like that. That's I don't know if collecting dudes in the house, but I know he was the one that told me about that specific book because he loves Beta Ray Bill. So just do your research when it comes to any foreign book. Do your research on it. And as far as CGC and their recognition, you could always call CGC. They have a lot of issues with the company, especially quality control, but their customer service is top notch. So give them a call.
Excellent answer and insight. We have 2 more questions left. 2 more questions.
Cool.
2.5 here. Do you think the comic book influencers can truly impact / manipulate the market, or is it an urban legend?
I mean, I think so. The word influencers is weird to me. No, for a couple reasons. The people that have YouTube channels, myself included, there's a big range of their followings and their actual impact on anything. I have a very modest channel of a couple thousand people. There are YouTubers, comic book YouTubers that have tens of thousands, and I believe in a couple that have over 100,000. But realistically, that impact that is not a huge reach, because if you look at YouTube in general, like big YouTubers, some of them have hundreds of thousands, millions, multiple millions, I think tens of millions at this point. Some of them. Mr. Beast probably has tens of millions. I don't know what his count is, but I think he's top dog. But yeah, what I'm saying is, yes, there's going to be some level of influence happening. But I don't think it is like crazy wide scale. I don't think that there's necessarily like, a book ends up in a top 10 video or is mentioned on something, and it reaches so many people that it like has a major impact on something. I think a lot of what we're seeing with the market is, why is that book in that top 10? Is there a speculation on that book? Is there a rumor? Is there a casting announcement? That's going to do a lot more. The influencers, the YouTube channels and stuff like that, a lot of them just kind of relay the news rather than creating their own news, which, that's probably better. My advice always is to do your own research, just like I said about those foreign books, to take multiple opinions into account, because there are certainly some people out there that put out content that have conflicting views. And just think for yourself, think for yourself, because not everyone out there is out there for the right reasons, and just be careful.
Yeah, I think there is some influence, but it's short-lived influence, especially when it's malicious influence or for a person's own good. So again, what Joe said, just do your research.
Yeah. And I just want to say one thing because I will never use the term influencer to describe myself, despite putting out content every day. I like to think of myself as more of a community liaison, someone who, puts stuff out into the community and just wants to share information and discuss this hobby that we all love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to think that anyone to think that the stuff that I'm saying, my opinions about books, what books I'm buying are, the law, the word of God or whatever. I want to hear pushback. I want to hear people arguing with the things that I have to say. And I think that we can all, build a better community and learn from each other through that.
100%. Here's kind of a half question. Why would the Yankees manager leave their starting pitcher on the mound after he's already coughed up 9 runs?
I don't know. I lost interest in baseball, when the Phillies won the World Series. Honestly, that literally made me lose interest.
I'll say why, because he doesn't care. They're in last place, and he's just going to wear everybody down, and he's going to leave that. He's going to burn it down to the ground before he's out the door. And then one more question. Are you ready for this one? Are you ready for this one? From Comic Toby, why so serious?
There's a lot of words that have been used to describe me over the years, and I don't think serious has ever been one of them.
Well, I would agree, but it's a good question still.
It is a good question.
And
great reference.
I think your answer was honest. And with that, we end Ask Joe with the song. Ask Joe!
Oh, you did a little extra spin.
Yeah, I did.
I tried to make a distorted electric guitar sound, and
I heard it was crunchy. It was crunchy. It was good.
I think it sounded more like in Dumb and Dumber, when he's like, "You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" Like, I think it was more like that vibe than
no, it was art. It was true art. It was true art. Speaking of art, I pulled this message up, or this comment up, or Alex, aka Collecting Dude. I buy whatever Chet recommends, and with that, Chet does have some recommendations. And on the other side, we're gonna bring in Dan De La Torre and Tony Trombetta to do let's just call it EGS Slab Fest, right?
Party. Let's do it.
But first, we must see Chet's new comic book day picks of the week.
Well, my faithful viewers, brace yourselves for the comic book picks of the week. Let's dive into the riveting world of Star Wars, because we haven't had enough of that, right? Star Wars. Dark Droids #1. A thrilling epic like we've never seen before, as we've heard thousands of times before. Apparently, there's a mysterious scourge spreading corruption among droids. Oh, the horror. Chaos ensues, and I'm sure it's all going to be totally groundbreaking, just like every other Star Wars storyline. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or should I say, Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought we were done with this story. Apparently not Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer #1, where our dear These is all grown up and facing new enemies. A mysterious clan is after her, and cue the dramatic music as her friends become bait. Because nothing says originality like recycling old plots with a twist. Last but not least, we have Strange Academy. Miles Morales #1, where we're kicking off the school year with a thrilling math bowl. Oh, the excitement. But wait, there's a mysterious new villain. Gasp. I'm sure this will lead to a riveting team-up between the students and good old Miles. Can you feel the excitement? No? Me neither? And there you have it, folks. Your weekly dose of predictability and rehashed storylines. But don't worry. I'll be here, suffering through it all, so I can share my unmatched wisdom with you. Until next time, my fellow comic book enthusiasts. Or should I say victims. Chet out.
Yeah, there he is. Always bringing it. Always bringing it. Good question here. I thought he lost weight. Oh, she's calling Chet a liar. That's fine. I thought he lost weight. He did, but the grape sodas pulled him in. Check out the rewind. He has an explanation for the whole thing. Grape soda's made. All right, listen.
I got called a liar because I literally played baseball today, and by play baseball, she means I was a pinch runner for my nephew's neighborhood wiffle ball game because they didn't have enough people.
And how old is your nephew?
He's gonna be 7 next month.
You were a pinch runner for. Got it.
Yeah, with the next door neighbors who I think are 7 already. Yeah.
You feel good about yourself because you were probably the fastest one out there.
Listen, I scored some runs. I didn't get tagged out at all. They tried to get me with a hidden ball trick, which was pretty advanced for 7-year-olds.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. Well, I'm proud of you that you got out there and played because you gave it your all. All right. Speaking about giving it their all, Tony Trombetta has been a huge supporter of the show, huge supporter of Fresh from the Comic Shop. We cannot thank him enough. But even if we did not know Tony Trombetta personally, his product has made a mark, and we want to see this company continue to grow. We only bring on people that we believe in terms of sponsorships. Tony is one of those people. Tony Trombetta, how you doing on this Sunday night?
All right, guys, doing good. How about yourself?
I think you're a little nerve-wracked with the Yankees. Other than that, though,
yeah, that's a sore subject here.
Right.
I don't even want to talk about it.
We will not talk about it, but Joe and I will not talk about it. We are not fans of New York sports teams. However, a guy by the name of Dan De La Torre may talk about it a little bit more. How are you, Dan?
I was doing great until the idiot Yankees manager kept their guy on. Now it's killing my fantasy team. Damn it, I was tied to this. I was cussing up a storm backstage. It's a good thing you didn't bring me on until just now.
We've cussed up a storm in front of the stage. So it's all good. Listen, we're not here to talk Yankees baseball. We do not care about Yankees baseball. Phillies are in the playoff run. The trade deadline is the 1st. Let's see what they do. But the Yankees are done. They're out. Who cares? We're here to talk about EGS. That's right, EGS Comics. Dan got a bunch of slabs back from Tony and his company, and we're here to share those slabs because I think they're pretty special. I'd have to say there's some fine books. Tony, you've probably seen a lot of fine books come across your, I want to say your desk, but your company in your day. And by the way, we should ask, let's start off with this question. Do you worry that collectibles will kind of be like a thing of the past and digital will come in? Because with that high sale of The Amazing Spider-Man #1, it's something that people think about, worry about. You being in a business where you take collectibles, protect them, put this in this wonderful case, make it look gorgeous with that customized label. Do you see any sort of dip in people's interest in hard copy collectibles?
No. I think, it's something that I would say maybe we revisit 20 years from now. Maybe it might be a little different, but for the foreseeable future, I don't see digital really making any kind of dent in the overall physical issues of comics. No,
yeah,
I don't see it.
I'll say this: if anything, I think they will help the physical market as people, maybe as as entry level people get the digital copies, and then they're like, I really love this story. I don't have any physical comics, but I really love this story. I really love this character. You know what? I'm just gonna get that one. And you know what happens when you get one comic book in hand? It snowballs, and you get 100 and 1,000 and 10,000. And then you start a YouTube channel and you do this every day, all day, and you end up like me. But yeah, I think that digital comics are a perfect gateway for people into, collecting and, reading physical copies, getting themselves into comic stores and stuff like that. So I don't see it hurting. I literally only see it helping.
Yo, Chris brought up an amazing stat. Digital comics are roughly 10% of the market. And back in 2011, when they were introduced, they were 10% of the market. That's fascinating. So something to think about. It just, again, that a sale like that goes to show you there's not a 70-year-old that's going to be paying $500,000 from a book from his youth or her youth, right. But it's going to be somebody who's into it. Anyways, But we're not, again, we're going to move on from that right there because, Dan, you got some stuff to show off. We're going to have some comments from Tony. Then we're going to get into Fresh from the Comic Shop. So, Dan, what do you got for us? How many slabs? What do you have first?
Well, first of all, I'm very impressed. Look at the beautiful books that Tony has behind him. I didn't know you had a FF48 and a Hulk 131, part 181 rather, in your backstop. So the more you're going to grow with the Silver Age, the more impressive your portfolio is going to be. So I'm jealous and envious.
We got Spider-Man bottom right, the gold with the customized label. Love it.
Oh, so that's gorgeous. So let me start here, I guess. I mean, just to compare, and I'm not going to show them. We've seen them. I've got an EGS, about a CGC and a CBCS slab to compare them to. So I'm sort of going just to make certain that everyone knows I've sort of done my homework and my research. And I even have one of the first ones that Tony got here. This is the old label here. These are still fun. I was ready to send my what I'm going to show you here with these older slabs here. And the reason why is CGC had a dynamite idea. They had a dynamite company. And then they did something that no company should ever do. They mishandled their growing. They had growing pains, and they totally mishandled that. And in so doing, they made a lot of mistakes. And with these mistakes, lost trust. I have a lot of prominent books here, put a lot of passion, a lot of money into these things. And I made the decision, especially after what they did with Blackstone last year. They took a bunch of money from them. And now it's all about how fast can you get these damn things out. Why would I trust this company? CBCS has its own problems, and along comes this gentleman, Tony Trombetta, and he's out in the open. He's saying, "Hey, I got a product here," and
part of the community,
very much part of the community. And the more I listen to him, the more he sounds like I do regarding old school grading. Old school grading meaning back in the day when I was a kid, you had Overstreet. That was your Bible. That told you everything you needed to know about the pricing, how to grade them, what to look out for, and so forth. And Tony basically, he'll talk about this when he talks about the grading, but he grades the same way that I would grade. And so I said, you know what? I like what he's doing, and I'm beginning to trust this process here. And I finally took a leap of faith, and I said, I called Tony and said, Tony, I've got a bunch of books here. And I was nervous as hell because you'll see them in just a second here. But Tony said something to me that finally got me to begin the process. He said, trust the system. You've got to trust the system. And he's right. Because when I sent them to the post office, I'm packaging them as carefully as possible. And the lady at the Sonoma post office said, hey, it's going to be okay. She was really, really sweet. And I'm driving out. You drive out to the back. And one guy, the postal worker, is throwing a box in his hand. And the other guy has a big box. It falls over on a cart. I'm thinking, my God, what did I just do? Because I'm already making the commitment. But it made it just fine. And I want to sort of walk you through the process of what Tony did, because he got the books, and I expected only one of them to be pressed. And he said, no, there's two others I recommend that you're going to press. We'll start with this one here. And it was Marvel Spotlight 5. Wow. And, he wanted to press this. And I think you got, Tony, we get maybe a half point, because this was probably a 2.5, maybe a 2 at best. And do you remember what the thinking process was at the time?
Yeah, I just remember looking at it and noticing, some things that a press would definitely help it with. Sometimes, you take a shot and, it just works out that you're going to get a bump. And sometimes, it doesn't. But, all you could do is do your best to, look at it and kind of do some dirty grading real fast while you're looking at it to try to, see, okay, if this wasn't there, if this wasn't there, if this wasn't there, where do I see it at, potentially being. So that's what goes on, when I look at a book to say, hey, you could definitely maybe benefit from a press here. I mean, why not? Even if it, only goes up a 0.5, on books like that, that's monetarily a big deal. So,
but that's customer service you're not going to get. He's very hands-on. So I was more than impressed, back and forth, because I probably called you more than I should have, but just because I was so nervous about the whole thing. This one I knew was going to get pressed here, and this is exactly the grade that I expected. and it's Fantastic Four 52, first Black Panther.
Beautiful.
Pretty mid-grade.
That label, like, I mean, it's very simple in terms of the setup, but the colors really just kind of, I don't know the word I have, frame it in the proper way. It looks awesome.
Well, he's got such a color palette, and we wanted to pick labels, and we did the same on the Ghost Rider book to complement the cover.
Yeah.
You know, because you've got the gold and the yellow. It's more pronounced on the FF52 book, but since I was doing them as a group, I thought let's stay with this color theme because I kind of liked it. But look how pretty that is, front to back, and it is the first appearance of the Black Panther. You can't beat it. Next one is another special one. I've got maybe another one. I've got actually two more, but one more to send to Tony, and kind of a special, unique one. We'll talk about it later, Tony. About it's really pretty, but it's got a special problem that you might be able to solve. And this
I got a question
here.
for you, man, real quick.
Yeah.
And this is no bullshit. I say this all the time because you obviously have a CBCS in your hand, a CGC in your hand. The EGS slabs feel different. They feel solid to me. They really feel well put together. And I know, Tony, you worked so hard on that. You finally released it last fall, I believe. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you had plans to release it before that, but you were like, nah, it has to be perfect. It just feels really nice in the hand. Dan, I know, Joe, you agree with that. Dan, your thoughts to that?
I agree. You've got what it feels like is solid quality that you've got in this EGS slab here. And again, I was one of those people that didn't really have a problem with the first one, that, you were just getting started with your company, this one here. And again, I was going to send these. In fact, when you said you're going to get the new slabs, I was going to say, well, maybe we'll get the last ones of these here. But it's still, this is night and day. This is night and day. This is Silver Surfer 4. And look how pretty that is. He gave it a 6.0.
Wow.
But these are really, really solid. And again, the thing with the comics is that they're not getting any younger. And they need to be preserved. So now that this is basically a time capsule and it's suspended, it presents beautifully. And now I can enjoy it for decades and maybe give it to my kids. Hopefully I'll be around for a long time. But again, I'm so happy that I did this. And the last three here I want to show you. These all three go together, and you'll see one in just a second. Avengers 3. I think a profile.
Look at the Avengers logo there.
Isn't that neat there? Because Tony had this thing where you could put a little thing in the background there, and I just love that. And this is my favorite label cover. I might use this for others, Tony, with the group I'm going to send you. But look how pretty that is.
Tony, you got the grading going on there too, with the black and the blue. That's very nice.
So that one, and then this one here. This went together well. Even to this day, an underrated book, Avengers 2.
Oh, nice.
The yellow label. Yeah. And lastly, this is a very personal. I'm happy. I'm a collector on a budget. To be able to land this for what I paid for it, I just paid just under $1,000 for it. You can't touch it for that price there. Avengers 1.
Woo!
Wow.
So now you notice.
Yeah.
Those are the colors I chose. Now, he said it's a 1/8, which I agree with. It's 10 pages. Now, I had this raw, and again, I agree with that assessment because Tony, what was it that they called it? It was Overstreet's like a color chip or whatever that you grade the paper by the. I used to have one of those cards years ago.
A chip.
I just want to say something because I carry this around everywhere I go. Tony's got
card.
The owl card. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
So I have something in my wallet and I carry this around. And this is, shout out to Collecting Dude if he's still in here because this is his business card, Collecting Dude, and check that out. It looks like a graded comic book.
Oh, that's cool.
But the coolest thing about this is you turn it around and he actually has the grading chart.
That's very cool.
That's very cool.
Very cool. And has the page quality down this side. Down this side it has all the numbers, and then the word grade, 6.5, fine plus. And this is the coolest business card that you could have.
Cool.
Any, find Collecting Dude if you're ever at a con and get that from him because I use it all the time in looking at comics.
Well, so this is again, I made the decision to go ahead with this, and I'm so happy about the result. I want to show you. I told Tony we're going to do this in phases because I also insured this. What I sent him was about $10,000, and I said that's all I can do. The post office will only grade or secure up to 10 grand. So I want to show you real quick. This is phase 2 that I'll be sending Tony. That I'm so.
I want to say something real quick, Tony. That Avengers 1 book is probably one of the best EGS slabs I've seen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It really looks nice. Again, it really looks clean, nice. Nothing like it just the color. Everything pops and it just complements each other. You know what I mean? Like I love it.
Just having this in my collection. Again, the other thing too is that there are forgeries out there, and because again these things are getting so expensive, they're finding ways to produce these. Having Tony certified the book is complete. And it is a genuine Avengers 1, and it's in my collection. It is amazing. And let's see, this was a spot here. This looks great, doesn't it? That's a restoration. Somebody found a color that was very, very close to this. You can't even tell, but it is noted on the book. And Tony said, you know what? I could take that out, and you could take away the restoration grade. It'll be down to a 1.0, but there's no restoration. I said, you know what? Leave it alone. I bought it like that. I like it like this. I don't care if it's restored. I think as these books get older, we need to take a very close look at what we consider restored. We want these things preserved as long as possible. And that's why you do, these slabs in the first place. And one other thing I'll point out regarding customer service. What was the other thing you did, Tone? Damn it, what did you do?
Well, while you're
on a blanket,
do you have qualifiers, restoration, etc., Tony?
Yeah, I mean, we have, definitely restoration. We notate the books, if it's qualified, restored. Again, we're a little different because we don't really have a specific color.
Yeah.
Right. That goes with, CGC and res. You see a purple label, it's restored or whatever. We just make sure we notate it on the label, whatever label you choose. And, if it's a qualifier or, a restored, you'll see it definitely on the label and also on the COA that comes with it on the back. So you have 2 references to go by. That's how we kind of, I don't want to say, get away with not having a specific color code mean a certain thing. You know what I mean? But we think, it works. It works for us, and we think, people kind of appreciate that we don't hold them to one specific color on their book that they want to submit. I mean, you're going to know if it's a qualified or restored. The color of the label doesn't have to dictate that. So, but yes, we do.
Well done.
Also, look,
Marcus Graves.
I can't take credit, for all these labels because, me and Dan, Dan had a really big part in it too. I mean, we had, a long, discussion on, once he sent me the books on, the label choices. So it wasn't just me saying, okay, Dan, this is what it's going to be and whatnot. I mean, Dan had a lot of input, in on it as well. So it wasn't all me for sure.
The ideation and the execution on point. Very nice right there. Dan, you're going to show us what you're about to send in now?
Yeah, let me show this. This is phase 2. And the hardest part, Tony, was picking this next phase. I've got so many books to send you, so I just had to take a while. But this is phase 2. X-Men 266.
Yes.
That's a pretty one. This is a high grade.
The next one, Dan. What color label are you going to do on that 266?
That's another discussion with Tony and I. I don't know. I've got to look at the website, and he's got more colors on his color palette. I have no idea, but we'll come up with something because Tony's got good taste in this sort of thing. This is a very high grade Hulk 102. That's on its way. So again, once Tony looks at them, he'll decide what to do regarding pressing and cleaning and all that. My Defenders 1, extremely high grade on this one.
Dope. That's nice.
And then I've got 2 of these, as I showed you guys backstage. Not 1, but 2 first rhinos.
Yes.
So one's probably a 2.5, the other's probably a 3.5. One has a wider page than the other. And this, I'm only going to send one of these. I've got the other one here. Maybe I'll send both of them. I don't know. Telestratus 93. First Silver Surfer outside of Fantastic Four. Marie Severin art. Always loved that cover and a great story.
Such a cool cover.
We just saw this. I got this from Swaggle not too long ago, and that is FF18 for Super Skull.
Yeah.
That it's a lower grade, but it presents really, really well. A couple more here that I'm going to send you guys. Now that Kang is on his way, this is the first Kang, Ramatut.
Look at you.
FF19. That's a pretty one.
Wow, these are going to be exciting to get these back here.
I kind of always love this one. X-Men 9.
Yes.
X-Men versus the Avengers. Great story. Great story. It's been pretty good. Oh, it's got this had an advertisement for Avengers 1 in this, for those that didn't know.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the X-Men 9 is the last one before this one here. Hulk 5.
Look at that cover.
First Tyrannus. So again, this is a man that I've won full trust with EGS and Tony and his services, but more importantly, I trust what's in here. I don't trust CGC anymore. I made a decision last year. I'm not buying anything that was produced from 2022 on. There are still some other books, that you can still get. But regarding my grading, this is it. I found a home here. It's going to be EGS from this point forward.
Yep. Again, Tony, you put out a great product, but you're also an integral member of the community as well. We're always championing, just as Dan is, like, your success. So again, the story is going to continue. You're going to continue to grow, and we're going to be part of, helping you get out there and speaking about all the good stuff. News. Look at that.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that colorful?
Oh my God, those look so good next to each other. They look great individually.
Right.
You're right.
Seeing them next to each other, especially given that it's 3 primary colors.
It is. And I gotta be careful. I don't want to scratch the slab, so I'm gonna be very careful to putting these things down.
Oh, that looks
But yeah, that is fun when they're all together.
Yeah, be careful scratching the slabs. All right, here's the deal. Now we're going to just segue into a segment right here that's sponsored by EGS and actually Spider Dude. By the way, I'm going to mention it one more time. If y'all don't know, we'll talk about it in Fresh in the Comic Shop, but the link is in the description down below. You got 5% using the code word Cannon5. Check it out if you guys are even just have an inkling of interest. Trust us, you will not be disappointed in the least. All right. So what we're going to do here is move on to a segment that we call Joseph.
Before we do that, I just want to say something. Dr. Plagueis just said, let's get some EGS in your claims. And I have a box of books that I plan on doing. These are going to be really, really cool custom labels that have to do with the cover specifically. And I figured that would be a really great way to get some more of those out into the community. So as soon as I have the time to actually get to pressing them and sending them in, they will be available in my claim sale. Of course, I'm going to keep some for myself as well.
Hey, Dan, we're going to mute your mic. You got a little static coming in. We'll bring you in. We'll bring you in when...
I'll mute myself.
Here's a good question, too, by the way. Can EGS do magazines?
No.
Do you have any plans to do magazines?
Maybe down the road. That's a decision. Well, first off, I'm not even done paying for everything that had to do with the case I have now. It's going to be, some years before I'm able to even think about, doing another form of case. Right. If and when that time comes, the decision has to be made. Well, is there going to be enough demand for it? Is it going to pay? Is it going to be worth doing? So, that's all going to be, that'll all be determined down the road. And, if the answer is yes, then we'll do it. Sure.
Again, small business. Let's support these small businesses, these people in the community. for sure. All right, here we go, people. We do a segment that's called
Fricka Fresh from the comic shop.
Fly from the Preston Salon. That's right. We ask you, the audience, to send in your fresh gets each and every week, and you never disappoint. You know what's special about this episode? We got Tony in the house from EGS, who sponsors this segment, because you guys can all win a monthly book, a monthly EGS book. This month's book, by the way, Tony, do you want to introduce it? Do you want to introduce it? Your collaboration with Spider Dude Comics, who also sponsors this segment. Let's go. Boom. Look at that.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2099. That's a beauty.
Damn.
That is a beauty.
That is an absolute beauty. Somebody's going to win that tonight. We have a winner for this gorgeous, gorgeous book. We'll be announcing the August book next week. But again, fresh from the comic shop. You guys send us your fresh gets. Fresh gets can be 2 days old. They can be 30 years old. As long as they're fresh in your collection, we want to see them. And every week we have guests, or sometimes Joe, Chris, or myself have to decide who moves on to the semifinals. 3 criteria we look for. Well-composed shot. Something that gives it aesthetically pleasing. It relates to the book. It ties into little tiny details. We see a lot of people do that with this and have fun. Raising Elm, who is a finalist for the July book, he did it last month. He again did it with this submission this week. Another criteria, unique. How unique is the book? It doesn't need to be a $30,000 book, but something that we haven't seen before. Mark Leneker brings to the table so many unique books each and every week. He's a great example of that. And story. Story goes a long way with us. That's another criteria. What does this book mean to you? Does it remind you of a family member? Does it remind you of the first book you pulled off the rack? Does it remind you of the book that your father gave you? When you were 4 years old, you destroyed it. Then you had to go buy it again. Tell us what it means to you. What do you want? What should they tug at? Don't get disgusting, Joe.
The heartstrings.
The heartstrings, that's right. Tug at our heartstrings. Make us feel good or sad or happy, what have you. Tell us your story. And all of those criteria, we determine a semifinalist after or at the end of each episode that moves on to the semifinals that are voted on by the community. The winner of the semifinals moves on to the finals that is voted on by the community. So you all are big participation in this as well as your submissions. So it's just fun. Again, Tony, thank you so much for sponsoring this segment. It's been a blast for I don't know, probably over 2 years now. I don't even know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like I said, man. It's been my pleasure, and happy that Spider Dude is now come along for the ride too. They sent me some great books, guys, for you. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned indeed, because it's going to get fun, because we also have our yearly book. If you win, we're going to have to decide what this book is. It's time. But if you win, what's that?
It's getting close. We're getting there.
Okay, it's getting close, right, which is good for you all out there, the audience members.
We'll have something.
If you win during the year, we are going to have a yearly book for all 12 submissions that have won, or all 12 finalists that have won. They are automatically entered in to win the grand prize of the final book. It's going to be like a March Madness kind of deal early next year. It's going to be a lot of fun to do. But once again, you can save 5% off your EGS order using the code CANON5. Optional custom labels, free graders, notes, fast turnaround times. We talked about all this in this segment before, but it's egscomicsgrading.com. The link is down below if you want to click on it. It's easier that way. Spider Dude as well, sponsoring this segment too. All right, so why don't we just get into it, guys? We had two great finalists in Nori Jordan and Raising Elm, and we have a winner for July. And I'm going to be very angry if I did not load the winner. Hold on, everybody. Joe, sing a song real quick.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Do you like how I jazzed that up a little bit?
It did. It was really good. It's jingle all the way. All right, we don't need it anymore. Boom! Nori Jordan's Thunderbolt submission won 56% over Raising Elm's 44%. Congratulations, Nori Jordan. You have won the July book. Once again, let's look at this beauty of a book right here.
Great member of the community, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. Here, submitting every episode. So once again, you're going to be getting this 9.6 Spider-Man 2099. Gorgeous book. Look at the Tony, I don't know what's going on. I can't explain what's going on with the top, the custom label. Can you explain it real quick?
In the center is,
yes.
If you look in the center inside that yellow circle, you'll see the Spider-Man 2099 like head. His head.
Oh, I never noticed that. That's terrible because I put it on the small image right there and didn't look at it. I apologize.
And one last thing, by the way, that I forgot to mention, and because I back to CGC not being kind of not transparent with everything, you get the grader's notes right here. Everything about the book is right on the certificate, so everything's out in the open. This is what you want. So again, this is my highest recommendation. You want slabbing? Go right to this company.
Yep. Absolutely. We sound like this is an infomercial, but it's not. Like, we totally agree in your product.
I am not being paid a dime for this.
You're not at all. We totally believe in your product.
You guys aren't getting paid for this?
Oh, that's awkward.
Ooh. I'm just kidding.
Moving on. Let's just get right to your submissions right here. By the way, Tony, you are not allowed to have any input as to who the semifinalist is for obvious reasons. This will be for the month of August. Tony or Dan, you are going to be deciding who is moving on to the semifinals. So get those notes ready. I know you take this very seriously. And I'm not sure if you're going to have any books to share because you shared a lot of books. So Joe and I will just jam through some books.
Of course I will.
Oh, wow. Here we go. Here we go. First up, we got Comic Demon. More of my new comics from past months. Super crazy light week. Not complaining at all. Tasty Vampirella cover. Just looks like a Russ Mayer poster. Great 60s vibe. Totally groovy dudes. Vampirella has its fans. I want to put Dan just down here for a while. But Vampirella definitely has its fans, guys. For obvious reasons, I would say. Did you hear my voice crack too? Moving on.
That's the winner. No need to go on. Winner.
Great show, everybody. We'll see you next. That's not true.
Oh, that's right. I can't vote on this. Sorry about that.
You can't. Well, Dan's gone now. I don't know what we're gonna do. But that is a gorgeous cover. Moving on, we have Son of Comics. Secret Wars 1, Gabriel Dell'Otto. He loves his Gabriel Dell'Otto, and for obvious reasons. Silver foil cover signed by Brian Michael Bendis. This is one of Gabriel Dell'Otto's early works for Marvel, and in my opinion, my humble opinion, should be a collected piece for his early work. Dell'Otto is changing the game when it comes to cover art, and I'm here for it 100%. I just need everyone else to stop buying so I can grab his work for the low price. Enjoy the drop. That is a gorgeous looking cover right there. No doubt about that. Joseph, what is your first fresh get of the week?
All right. So you may remember if you follow me on Instagram that I picked up a collection this week, and you're going to get a preview of that collection today. All 3 books that I brought to the table are from that collection. It is the most I've ever spent on a collection. It's not the biggest, but it's a big one. But it is certainly the best collection that I've ever bought, as far as the average value of the books, the average like the key significance of the books. It is quite honestly mostly silver and bronze. It is very key centric. There are like runs of stuff, but it is again mostly keys, and most of the filler stuff is again silver and bronze. So I brought 3 books to the table. I'm going to be slowly releasing over YouTube and Instagram for the next week, maybe 2 weeks, videos of the rest of the stuff. But we're going to get into it. And the cool thing about this collection, like I said, is mostly Silver Age, but there is a nice array of stuff that is,
it's just going to be showing off. Is basically
it is really going to be showing off. So I'm going to start with the oldest book. It's a 10 center, and it's a Marvel 10 center, which you don't see too often because there weren't that many of them. A lot of, after they changed their name to Marvel from Atlas Comics, 10 centers were only around for about a year. Think Fantastic Four issue number 1 is a 10 center, but I believe issue number 2 was a 12 center. So this is Amazing Adult Fantasy, which is the name during part of this run. Issue number 8, Stan Lee writing with Steve Ditko art and Steve Ditko cover.
Cool. Wow.
Rather nice shape. Yeah. And this is, like I said,
Very
issue
cool.
number 8 from the run before, the big one, issue number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man, and that was actually the last issue as well. So about halfway through the run, this is only the second time, maybe third, that I found any book from this run in the wild in a collection. And I feel like I have to keep it because of what it is. We'll see.
Hey, this is an Ask Joe question.
I am. I'm not even gonna hide it. I'm so stoked about this collection.
Yeah, you should be, by the way. You should be. All right, moving on. Who do we have? Marvel Man 616. What a gorgeous looking cover this is, everybody. What if Dark Spider-Gwen #1? What if Spider-Man died instead of Gwen Stacy? Featuring cover art by Rose Besh. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
I think it's Besh. That is really a nice looking cover. Gorgeous. We got Dr. Plagueis. This is the first submission from Dr. Plagueis, I do believe. And they have quite a few that were submitted after this, but this is a nice one right here.
Wow.
And all they put was the purple dot and the green dot. There's no description, but I like the setup here. Look at, you got that. I mean, that figure matches the position basically that the Joker's in on the cover. You got the city vibes in the background. I'm liking the composition of this shot, everybody. I just have to point that out.
That looks beautiful.
It really does. I'm telling you, Dr. Plagueis has a few other submissions that look really good too. That would have definitely, I would have had the same kind of comments about. Why don't I just start off here with me? I went to my former local comic shop this week, and they had a box there that was buy 5 for $20. So I had some interesting books. I'm just going to go through some of these. Actually, I'll go through all of them. So this one right here, I'm just going to show 2 real quick, is Excalibur #1. First team appearance of Excalibur in the newsstand edition.
Woo!
I basically got this for $4, even though it says 6. Happy about that. And I just looked for the earliest issue of Green Lantern I could find. I don't know if this has any significance here, but this is number 126 of Green Lantern. So you can see probably an early bronze, maybe silver. No, it's bronze. So. Anyways, those are the first 2. 5 for $20. Oh, I didn't even notice that they had that on the back there. All right, cool. Moving on. We have Comic Toby. He got Hulk 181s, everybody. But they're the foils. Hi guys. This week I saw a Comic Tom video that featured this little book. This title is one of the best books in the world. It is the Incredible Hulk 181 Chrome facsimile edition. He also mentioned that he wants to buy a copy because he doesn't have one. Hey Tom, I got what you need, bud. You sure do. Look at the action figures on the top right there, an homage of the Hulk 181. Great stuff. This here, it tugs at the heartstrings for sure. I really like this submission. Paul Bond. I went and looked at a collection yesterday, and although I didn't purchase it, the seller was nice enough to give me 2 Monsters Inc. comics for my kid. After I mentioned, regardless, I'd like to get them for him. He had seen my previous post about the Cars comics, and I had found for him and gave these to me to give to him. Needless to say, my son was excited when I got home, and we read one before bed last night, and then when he woke up, he wanted to, quote-unquote, read the other himself. A big thanks to the seller who made my son so happy. I'll work with him later on the right way to handle comics. No, let a kid be a kid. Let him do his thing. Just don't let him touch any of your really, really expensive books.
And hey, update on this situation. If I remember correctly, because I went to Terrificon with Paul, I'm pretty sure he said that he actually picked up the rest of that collection. The guy actually gave him a call back. So even a better story there.
Interesting. Mr. De La Torre, what do you got for your first fresh sketch of the week?
Well, this gentleman here is at his sickbed, and he sent this to me. What did I just do with it? See, we're totally improv here. Oh, here it is. Here. And I've been wanting to. I had one of these, and damn it, it's and moving several times. I lost it, but thanks to Chris from Journos, I got this from him.
Look at that! Look at that. Nice. That's very nice.
Very cool.
That everybody. He's
now,
just
shout out.
Weather.
Shout out to Chris from Journos. He's one of my suppliers. He finds all these great books. They're very affordable. He's my bronze and silver. Some silver age he's throwing me, and copper age stuff. He knows my tastes. So if you need to hit up someone like Chris, please, because I do this all the time. He's a great member of the community. Miss you, Chris. I'm sorry you're not on the show tonight, but thank you.
He is a co-host of the show. His information is down below. He does have sales and auctions and all that good stuff. So please check him out. Why not? We got C to the G up next. I like this submission too. A week ago today was my first day at San Diego Comic-Con. Major withdrawals right now, or maybe it's just me being on vacation. Anyways, what made San Diego Comic-Con great this year was that it was not just me, but my family as a whole going. I've taken my son a few years back. Now it was my wife and my daughter's turn. Met up with some friends and made some memories. Experiencing all the hustle and bustle, sights and sounds, and the wonderful chaos that San Diego Comic-Con has to offer as a whole. Now, with one under their belt, we all can't wait to do it again next year. What better way to represent a family going on an adventure than Din and Grogu, right? Like last year, there were many exclusives, but these two books stood out for me because, well, Star Wars. And I do also enjoy the occasional sketch covers. The Mandalorian Season 2, #1, Trinity Comics, San Diego Comic-Con 2023 exclusive Virgin sketch variants by Peach Momoko and Adi Grano. Both books are limited to 700 copies. Till next year, San Diego Comic-Con. Look at that, man. That's a great submission. I really do enjoy all the Yodas right there, and some great books as well. Good job, C to the G. Next up, Nukes Comics. Fresh from the comic shop, Amazing Spider-Man #2. Peter is still trying to pick up the pieces of his life when Norman Osborn enters the scene with a job offer. Meanwhile, Spider-Man corners Tombstone into a corner, or does he? Quick-witted story from Wells and clean art from John Romita Jr. I picked this up from DBS. I like it. Nukes always gets that great depth of field with his shots. I gotta say, we've talked about this briefly, but I do like this run, this latest Spider-Man run. That's what this is from. I'm enjoying it. It kind of takes me back to like older Spider-Man issues, so that's always a good thing. Joseph, I know you got something good. Shit.
Yeah.
It's something good. That's along the tune of tell me something good. Did you get it?
Sure, man. Whatever floats your boat, dude. So I mentioned this collection was mostly silver and bronze, but again, there is copper and modern stuff. So I kind of wanted to stretch it out to some different things. So the next book's a copper book, and it is a copper book that I have never owned. Which there aren't a lot of copper books that I've never owned because most of that stuff is pretty common and affordable. This one is up there in the prices, and it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael #1. This is the first printing. Second printing has a different cover, but this is the first ever spin-off of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The first time any of those characters are in a non-TMNT book. And most importantly, it's the first appearance of Casey Jones right here on the cover. Magazine size, just like issues 1 through 4 of TMNT. And this is just, if you're a TMNT fan, just wait to see what I found in this collection, because this ain't even the best part of it.
Jesus. Again, show off. Moving on. Who else is showing some stuff off here? Yo, this is a great submission as well. And I think Josh's comics already won Fresh from the Comic Shop, I think. But Jesus, look at this.
Wow.
Batman 32, first appearance of Ra's al Ghul. Second appearance of Talia al Ghul. Shout out to my buddy 360 Comics. That's you, Joe. For not only hooking me up, but helping me acquire a huge grail for the PC. By now, everyone knows Batman is my favorite superhero. When I see Batman, I also see my real-life hero, my father. He always used to say, I'm Batman, and he was Robin. But it was always the opposite. I will always cherish the memories of him and me seeing the Batman movies together in theaters and remembered him really enjoying Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. This book isn't just for me. It's for you too, Dad. Wish you were here to see this amazing book. My Fresh from the Comic Shop is in honor of my father. 8 years this month since I lost my hero. We really, sorry to hear that, but what you're saying about these memories, that's what it's all about. Dan, also want condolences to you for, I believe, losing your mother-in-law. Just want to acknowledge that too.
Appreciate that. Not many, she was extremely kind to me. A rare person, and again, my wife and I are dealing with as best I can. By the way, I was not going to come on any shows. I'm on a number of shows, and I said to my wife, we're going to spend time together. But when you guys reached out and you said we're going to profile Tony's books, I didn't want. She said okay. I went it through her, but again, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate the kind thoughts.
Thank you for sharing. Again, it makes it all even more special being able to show off our favorite product in the community from Tony. So again, condolences. We're going to move on to Nori Jordan, who is our July winner with some hot books here, actually. It was a slow week, but I still found some good books. I heard that Muse may be a villain in the upcoming Daredevil series, so I hit a few stores in hopes of finding his first appearance on the cheap. This book has gone up a lot due to the spec, and I was lucky to find 4 great books for $12. Good job. I already have them in my PC, so I can't wait to flip them for some extra cash. I also picked up a Thunderbolts #1 second print. Of course you did. Current total at 38, supposedly signed by Kurt Busiek. The autograph looks legit, but I'll let Tony at EGS decide when I send it to him. Take care, everyone. I like the shout out. I don't even know if he knew you were going to be on here. That's freaking awesome. All right. My second fresh get of the week is, again, 2 books out of the buy 5, get something free. You know what I mean. I love this cover. This is Daredevil Noir #1. I'm actually going to read this on my Comics Unlimited app, but I like that I have it.
Ooh.
Look at that cover, man.
I love all the noir miniseries.
Oh, yes.
The art is just phenomenal. I love it makes me feel like with like Sin City and stuff like that, which the comics, the movie, all great stuff.
Very gritty. And then this one is kind of like, I don't know, it's a bit iconic, I would say. I think you guys would agree. This is Alpha Flight 106. This is when North Star comes out as gay. But this is the second print, which people isn't really sought after, but I just figured I'd pick this up. It means it has significance in society, and I appreciate that kind of stuff. All right, moving on. Who do we have, Joe? Who do we have? I'll tell you who we have. Sorry for cutting you off. Mark Lederker. Got some Silver Age DC goodness for my birthday. Action Comics 340, the first appearance of Parasite. Happily, the cover doesn't lie. For 1966, this is a fairly serious, violent story. Kurt Swan was a terrific and prolific artist and doesn't get enough plaudits nowadays. This book has been gaining spec stream because they're running out of new foes for Superman to punch in movies and TV. Buyer beware. Make sure that pinup is attached and the Palisades Park coupon is there. Happy birthday, Mark. We appreciate you as always. This guy right here, guys. This guy, Raising Elm. He's like, you guys know who Susan Lucci is, right? She never won, the Daytime Emmy? But she was nominated, I don't know how many times. I feel like Raising Elm is our Susan Lucci because he's always just delivering pure quality. Comic Fam, I recently picked up a John Cassidy variant of Punisher issue 12 off the web because why not? In this issue, spoiler alert, Frank Castle abandons the Punisher moniker. The follow-up series will show a new guy, Joe Garrison, taking up the Punisher mantle. Not sure what to make or think of this, but we will see what David Pepose does with that story. I also thought this cover art was a nice callback to that issue of What If Peter Parker Became the Punisher. What did y'all pick up this week? Much love, Comic Fam. I love it. I love his submissions. I really do. Dan De La Torre, give us your second fresh get of the week.
And is my audio still bad, by the way?
No, it sounds okay.
Okay, good.
We don't hear that static yet anymore either.
It's probably the air fan. It's hot up here. I'm upstairs and all that. We still have the air conditioning on, but still. And I'm getting to be a baby in my old age.
You're not a baby. Just stop it.
I've got this. I'm recollecting my Chris Claremont run, the X-Men, and I got not one but two of them. Long stories to why I got the Newsy and I got the direct edition here. But I used to have the entire set, but I'm doing these one at a time. Man, this is just a great run. This is Claremont at his best. This will be. I knew when I was reading it at the time it was a classic, and here it is still gaining prominence. And I would one of my recommendations you guys start stocking up on these if you don't have them. So X-Men 131.
That's a great recommendation, considering the X-Men are going to make their way into the MCU. I don't know if Tony or Joe, you have extra thoughts on that.
It's funny because I don't know if Kate's still in the chat, but Kate had asked me like 2 claim sales ago if I had an X-Men 131. I said, yeah, let me find it. And I found it this week. I knew I had an extra copy. So I'm gonna give her first dibs on that since that's something she asked for. So it's coming, Kate. Don't worry.
It's a great book. All right, here we go. Our last submission is from Union Josh, who is a winner on Fresh from the Comic Shop. A couple of grabs over the last few weeks. So here's a Supervillain Sunday and a Fresh from the Comic Shop post for you. Supervillain Team Up, issue 5 and 7, the first appearance of the Shroud, and then his origin and first cover appearance. The character of the Shroud has always been one shrouded, get it, in mystery for me. I first saw him in the Heroes for Hire run in 2010. A friend gave me UK Panini reprint of the issue, and I found myself interested in who he was. The other character I was introduced to here was Moon Knight. No one in black, one in white, both mysterious. I'm easy to please, but the Shroud never got the limelight like our Moon Knight seemed to get. So I didn't really hear from him at all in recent memory. So I went back and found these key books of his. Both came from different stories. Firstly from Gosh Comics, and the second from Mega City Comics. So thanks to these guys for sorting these out for me. Let's see if you've got anything for this tag. And Jesus loves you. I'm sure he does. I guess he does. That is another fresh get. So here's the deal. That's our last submission of the week from our audience. What we're going to do, Dan, you got some work to do, buddy. So Joe, you, Dan, and myself have some submissions to our own fresh gets, and we're going to go through those real quick. Go for it, Joe. You're first. But Dan, you got to get to work. Tony, make sure.
I'm ready to go.
Tony, look at your, I think you're left. Look. Yeah. Or no, maybe you're right. I don't know.
The Brady Bunch theme song?
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. There you go. Look at him, Tony. Give him a sour look. Yeah. Oh, and threaten him, too, with pointing the finger. I love it. All right, Joseph, what do you got?
So I got a third book from this collection. This is definitely the best of the modern books in this collection. Didn't have an Ultimate Fallout 4. Didn't have he really wasn't collecting at that time. No Edge of Spider-Verse 2. This is a lesser known book, and it's also the only example that I can think where a reprint, and I'm not talking like a second or third printing that came out like a month or two later. I'm talking about a reprint that came out years later, is worth more than the first printing of the book. If you know any of those, maybe I'll make a YouTube video on it. Put it in the chat. I'm really interested to know. This is Spawn number 1, and this is the black and white variant,
Ooh, nice.
which came out years later. The only way to get this book, comic book stores had to order 50 copies of Spawn 65, 50 or more copies of Spawn 65 to get one of these. So if they ordered 100, they didn't get 2. From what I understand, they still just got 1. So it's not like stores could get, order 200 copies and get 4 of them or anything like that. It was a 1 per store copy that was only unlockable ordering 50 copies of Spawn 65, which came out at a time where comic sales were down. So I have to assume that the print run, I haven't looked it up yet, but it's got to be low. And if you know anything about this book, it is worth hundreds raw and potentially more in a 9.8. And it is, like I said, the best modern book that I have yet found in the big collection that I got this week.
That's incredible, Joe. Like, have you been through all the books in that collection already?
No. So I went through every box while I was at his house, but I skimmed through them. Sure. So I'm finding stuff that I didn't see, or like, oh wow, there's actually 3 copies of this book, so on and so forth. Now this book was on his wall, so I didn't know this one was there because it was displayed. But yeah, I'm about halfway through, like firmly going, like combing through the boxes. So there's still more surprises to come.
That is
how great would that Spawn book look with a black label, Joe?
Oh, so good. A black and white label.
Oh,
little Spawn head there. I know you've done the Spawn head before.
Yep.
Yeah, that would look dope for sure.
Hey, Jeff, can you bring up Gunnar Lurker's comment here? I want to get your guys' take on this. Does he have a point on this? On his comment.
Oh, he says New Mutants, right?
Yeah. I'm not really up on the New Mutants. He may have a point. So I can't really comment. You guys probably know more than I do. The New Mutants
run is very cool. He really did something, just like how Spider-Man, is relatable because he's younger, relatable, I should say, for teens and preteens because he's high school student, so on and so forth. New Mutants, the original run of New Mutants is very similar to that because they're kids, they're kids and they're dealing with this new school environment, and they're dealing with a lot of things that teenagers deal with, but also with the superpower side. So I really love the first, I guess the first like couple dozen issues. Really, really good stuff by Claremont.
I wonder what the hype was back in the 80s when they released that series with Claremont. Are going to be new characters. I know it's not the same frenzy that we see these days, but like it must have been pretty interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a Bond. Paul Bond says there may be a gem in there. You better look at that.
Yeah, he told me about that. I had not seen it. He was like, "Oh yeah, double signed Secret Wars 8," and I was like, "Who signed it? I didn't see that one yet."
Yeah. All right. Dan, you're going to go next because while you're working, I'm going to show my fresh from the gets. My fresh.
A new segment.
Yeah, my last fresh gets. What do you got? Dan?
Well, like I said, I've got issue 131. It wouldn't be complete without 132.
There you go.
Also, shout out to John Byrne, too, with gorgeous.
Yes.
We all know he's kind of a goofy guy, but a damn good artist. So, again, this is a great, great run. I'm happy to, once again, have these in my collection. And it's a newsie.
It's beautiful, man. I love John Byrne. I've professed my
By the way, shout out to Ocean Pacific Comics. That's my new LCS in Santa Rosa, California.
Nice. 2
of them shut down, but these guys have their act together. They're opcomics.com. They're a great, great, reliable source.
Yes. That's nice to shout that out, but you got to get to work. Yes, John Byrne's classic work is one. Actually, his like Bronze Age and modern stuff is great too. I can't get enough of them. All right, my last fresh gets of the week. While you get to work, Dan. All right, yep. So I guess I showed you. Where's my stuff? Did I lose it already? Maybe. No. Oh, I have one more book. One more book. Here we go. This makes the 5th book, and this is like a recently hot book that I was happy to get. It's in really good condition. This is Marvel Comics Presents 95. The reason this issue is hot is because it is the origin of the yellow and blue suit, which we saw in the Deadpool set picks. Everybody is so hyped for. So yeah, I was psyched to find this for basically $4. So yeah. Anyways,
all the Wolverine books are hot right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Deadpool. Yeah,
Yes.
that's stuff that I can tell you. I've been selling my claim. Says I sold a New Mutants 98 last week, and I had after it sold, people were asking if I had more copies of it. That's a big book too. It's not a cheap one.
Nope, not at all. All right, Dan. So you know how this works. What are your three? What are three that stuck out from you? And out of those, you're going to need to pick a semifinalist.
Well, as I said, I'm on a number of shows, including Tony Sanders. I'm done every other Friday. Currently, I'm the commissioner and the judge, and a lawyer. So I have my gavel here ready to go. So I have comedic legal skills, if you will. Two runners up, if you will, for shout outs rather. With Paul's son, that hit home with me because I grew up reading comics. I credit them. I grew up with, I didn't have the best means growing up as a child, and it really helped me learn to read. And there isn't a lot of praise like there should be for getting kids to read anything, including comics. So that's a great picture. And Paul, thanks for submitting that. Raising Elm, he's always clever with his pictures here. He really is. But it sounded two actually, and I have a suggestion to implement in the rules. If you submit something that's really, really cool, both of these are winners here. Could he or she submit this at a future show for resubmission? Because it's so cool. I hate to go to the wayside. You'll see it's Josh's comics and the Joker. I forget who did the Joker submission. Those are the two I'm on the fence on right now.
Well, Josh has already won a Fresh from the Comic Shop, I do believe.
So he's not qualified?
No.
Right.
Okay, that makes it easier then. The Joker comic,
which is Dr. Plagueis' first.
That's it. That grabbed me. Look at that.
I mean, it's gorgeous. Like it's the first submission right there. So congratulations, Dr. Plagueis. You are moving on to the semifinals in August. We'll be probably revealing that book most likely next episode. And yeah, you'll be going up against next week's semifinalist to see who makes it to the finals for that book. Really great shot. Keep submitting. We really appreciate your submissions here. We really appreciate you guys. Like, honestly, Tony and Dan, thank you so much for joining and sharing your I guess they're considered fresh gets in a way. The EGS books. So outstanding work, Dan, on sending those and trusting the process. And Tony, outstanding work on executing the slabs and getting them back safely to Dan. Well, for you, the audience, please, if you like this show and you haven't already subscribed, if you like the episode, give us a like too. Look, we reminded them twice, Joe.
I know that
it's 2 times as more than any other episode, basically.
Oh yeah, really incredible.
Yes, Tony, Dan, any final words for this week's episode?
Tony, you go first.
Well, I definitely just want to take the time to thank Dan for, trusting me and trusting EGS with his treasures. It's always a good feeling when, you're a small and up and coming, company and people are sending you, books like Dan's and the books you see in the back, the Daredevil ones, the Amazing Fantasy 15s, when you're doing, when people are trusting you with those caliber books, it means a lot to me, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people like to look at different companies because of resale value, and that's all fine and dandy. I would never tell anybody, to take less to put in their pocket in whatever they want to do. But I will say this, it's my job. It's every grading company's job to, be transparent and do the best job that they can do. Because at the end of the day, it's all about who do you trust. To me, who do you trust that's going to do the best job with my book? And I think, it means a lot when you have a steep member like Dan in the community that's just trusting me and sending me these books, along with others that have sent me these books. So again, I just want to say, thank you to Dan. Thank you to, you guys on the Canon for, supporting EGS. It means a lot to me. And, we're growing. Like I said, this thing's going to take time, but we're getting there, and I'm looking forward to more of this in the future for sure. So
it seems like it's getting more fun here, and again, it's just not only the product you put out; it's you the person in the community talking, with everybody, just like everybody else is, giving advice and giving your opinions on things. Sometimes you go a little too far with your Cowboys talk, but we'll leave that alone for right now. We'll leave that alone.
While this is live and on air, not only will it be live and on air, but it'll be, in your on your channel for people to go back and view for the rest of time. This right here is living proof that you could be a Dallas Cowboy fan and make it on the Canon. That's all I gotta say.
Well said. You know what? That's like an olive branch, actually. I don't know how to feel about that, Joe. That's like it's really confusing.
Listen, one of my best friends, he is diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, and he is married to a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Wow, makes no sense.
Who is also from Pennsylvania. So
let's stop with that. Anyways, Joseph, any final words for the show here?
Thank you, as always, to everyone watching, to Tony for coming on and obviously supporting every week. Not only does he sponsor, but Tony, you're in the chat almost every week, and I think that's awesome.
Yep.
That this is something that you believe in, and we believe in you, and that's why this is working out. And of course, Dan, thanks for coming on. Thanks for always being a part of the show in the chat, and coming on when we need you and showing off some just absolutely freaking cool books.
It's my pleasure. And to Tony's comment about the market here, CGC. I thought when they made the decision last year it would really affect their market, but sadly they still run the market, for buying and selling. I'm not buying and selling. I'm a collector, but I think that's their unreliability is gonna backfire at some point. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but at some point when they start cracking those things and saying, "Oh, wait a minute, it's not a 9.8, it's not whatever," and because again they're rushing these things through. Bottom line, I trust what's in here. It's a gorgeous presentation. It is an honest, solid rating, and again, it's something that's going to stay in my collection. It's preserved, and at some point, keep in mind, CGC didn't start off out of the gate very strong. When they started back in 2000, the idea was very, very slow, and then finally started to catch on, and then it gained momentum and became the behemoth that it is now. But again, I'm a small businessman that goes with reliability. I don't want to go into some gigantic corporation that I can't trust, I can't get hold of. I have no idea where my comics are, whatever else. This man has won my trust. And look at this. I don't care what the market says. This is my comic. Good luck getting it out of my hands if I did try to sell it. I don't care what label's on here. This is a solid book.
Sure is. Again, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you to the audience for joining us tonight. We'll be back next week, 8 p.m. next Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Again, if you like, just hit the like button. If you want, subscribe. Until next week, be good to yourself. Be good to others.